All right, so I just want to take a minute and welcome everybody to this episode of Leaders Unscripted podcast, hosted by the National Young Leader Committee. My name is Steve Baker. I'm Director of Facilities and Sustainability with your neighborhood credit union in Kitchener. I'm a third-year member of the National Young Leader Committee, and today we are interviewing Cory Munden from Atlantic Edge Credit Union about the cooperative advantage. And I just want to turn it over to Cory quick to do a quick introduction.
Thank you, Steve. Hello, everyone. My name is Cory Munden. I'm CEO of Atlantic Edge Credit Union here on the west coast of Newfoundland and Labrador. We have 16 branches across our province. We're a relatively small credit union in asset size. However, we have a strong branch network, and we also are one of the very few credit unions that have a geographic reach north, south, east, west of our province.
Sounds great, Cory. So for our first question, actually I should back up a little bit. So our questions have come from the committee themselves and from our young leader groups that we are have a reach to. So we'll start this one off, I think, fairly easy. Cory, what does the cooperative advantage mean to you?
So let's just talk about the cooperative advantage first, because I think for most listening people, they might not understand what that term means. And this is something that's pretty intimate for me. I had the luxury of doing my master's in co-op management through St. Mary's University, and the cooperative advantage was something that was talked about quite frequently and in depth in the studies for 3 years. So the advantage is reserved for credit unions or co-ops that basically says that our unique business model provides an advantage in the way that we conduct business. And so in our case, like credit unions, because of the cooperative model, it puts us at a strategic advantage from our financial institutions, from other financial institutions, simply because our model is quite different than the model that they operate in. We obviously put people before profit, and that brings about significant advantages to us. If you look at the co-op model and you break it down into two sections, where we operate with principles and we operate with co-op values. And I think the advantage for us as credit unions is that we are able to provide to our membership, who are owners, obviously, solid advice built around the fact that with trust. And I think that's more critical than ever in today's society. So, it's this perception that cooperatives certainly operate today with an advantage because of the way that our model is structured.
Yeah, that's very true, Cory. Can you share a moment when you saw the cooperative principles in action and thought, this is why we're different?
Oh my gosh. There's so many that stand out, Steve. But let's just probably reflect back to something that happened at a branch in my hometown. Most recently, when we had the Fiona storm hit our community of Port aux Basques there several years ago, that saw the destruction of over 100 homes through surges and different weather activity. In that case, our call to action was, we had people that were displaced by the storm, and they needed temporary housing, or they needed to find a way to get access to another house that would be available either in the community or neighboring community or even outside the province. And yet they had a house that was destroyed. There was no insurance on it because of the clauses in their Insurance Act, and they had no idea where funding at this time, when this immediately took place, was going to come from to replace their existing house. But they needed a place to stay.
Mhm.
So, if you had to look at our general policies and your general procedures about qualifying and everything else, giving somebody a mortgage on a property when they already have a mortgage on a property that is now destroyed, it just wouldn't fit. But that's where we're different, right? That's where we look at things and tailor it to, our local needs and our local decision making, and that's where ownership really plays a value. And we were able to put together a pre-approval program for people that were displaced and get people into homes and get people and deferring their current mortgage payments, etc., to make it so that we met the goal, which was again finding housing for people. So, you know, it's just a demonstration that our model is different, and in my opinion, that's an advantage. And I've worked on the other side of the fence where, with a chartered bank, where that wouldn't fly,
Yeah.
because the T didn't, the I didn't dot and the T didn't cross. And if that don't fit, then all of a sudden you're in a situation where you can't advance.
Yeah.
So, I think that's probably a good example of a
Yeah, that's a
cooperative
great
advantage.
example, Cory. Yeah, great example. How can our young professionals in the credit union system embody and promote their cooperative advantage in their work?
Yeah, I hear this quite often about, well, I'm probably not in a leadership position, or I'm not in a decision-making position, so it's really hard to chart the cooperative advantage in my role or responsibility, or I'm manager of facilitation, so facilities,
Yeah.
right, like yourself.
Yeah.
So how do I lead the charge on identifying how we could exercise the cooperative advantage?
Yeah.
And really got to start with education, and you got to understand first intimately what the cooperative advantage is, and you really got to understand the principles in which we operate.
Yeah.
So if you're a young professional and you're really good at your job, you got your job down, you know what your responsibilities are, spend some time in understanding what it means to be a credit union, what it means to be a cooperative,
Yeah.
understand the principles, and then start evaluating how your credit union fits in that capacity. I mean, you look at a cooperative principle like cooperation amongst cooperatives, and you say, in my capacity, where can we do a better job? Or what are we doing today to exercise that particular principle? What can we do better? And is there an opportunity in my role in which I can reshape our activity in that space? And concern for community. When I look at your role, for example, you have a direct opportunity to influence your environmental footprint.
Yeah. Very true.
So just exercising that, making your management team and your executive team and your CEO aware that, we're not probably doing well in the space, or we're doing great in the space, but here are some other initiatives that we could undertake to show that to our community, our stakeholders, our membership, our staff, that by just tweaking these few things or doing these initiatives, we can showcase that we're a stronger community player.
Yeah. One thing I took away from that was talking about, especially for young professionals, being a leader. Don't think they're in a leadership role. And some of the advice I always give to peers or people that I'm mentoring is that you don't have to be in those roles to be a leader. You can lead from any position within the organization. And some of that people might have a hard time communicating what the cooperative principles are. How would you better get that message to our young leaders what these cooperative principles are?
Yeah, and I agree with you too on the first statement that you made around people having this perception that because they're not in a leadership role, they can't carry the torch. And let me tell you that any supervisor, any manager is thirsty for anyone below them to demonstrate that activity. If they're not leaders, right? So,
Yeah.
to me, anyone that takes initiative, anyone that embraces and picks up additional responsibility. But we all have a role to play, right, on the cooperative side, and the more that you exercise that, in my opinion, that is, a true demonstration of leadership, as you mentioned.
Yeah. Yeah. For those young leaders that are trying to champion our cooperative advantage, but we're in a results-driven environment, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, well, even like results-driven environment, like I look at our business through two lenses.
Mhm.
For the first lens is our business, our core business. What is it that we established a credit union for, right?
Mhm.
And so, we've established a credit union to provide banking services, financial services, wellness to our membership. No matter which credit union you peel back, whether it was the unbanked or unserved or today, general membership, that's our purpose. And so most of our results driven activity is in that business line.
Mhm.
We need to ensure that we grow this. We need to ensure that we do these types of activities. That is there to ensure that we're in a financial position and we're resource position so that we can do the other pieces of being a cooperative. So I always look at it through two
Mhm.
streams: our core business and then our co-op identity. And so, just because you're tasked with being in a results driven environment growing growing, the business, that doesn't neglect you from participating in your community. Being an ambassador for financial literacy,
Yeah.
uh, demonstrating and seeking those unique opportunities that the credit union can participate with other social enterprises in our communities. Um, being and looking with an efficient eye so that we could save on our bottom line in order to pay our membership back dividends and patronage. So everyone has this unique role to play. The question that our young professionals should be asking ourselves today is, how familiar am I
Mhm.
with that activity in our credit union? Is that prevalent? And if it's not prevalent, you know, take some ownership and try and move the needle on that yourself.
Yeah.
Make it a little bit more prevalent. I think we all have a responsibility to do that. But again, I got to start with awareness of understanding of what is the cooperative advantage, and it might be unique to your community versus my community, and how do you demonstrate it in the best fashion?
Yeah. Those are all great points, Cory. How has the cooperative model shaped your leadership style or your career path?
Oh my goodness. That's a fantastic
Yeah.
question. I recall, and I'll go back to my National Young Leaders Days first.
Mhm.
And I recall being asked when the National Young Leaders Committee was being formed to fly into Toronto and meet peers of credit unions across Canada to talk about what this National Young Leaders Committee could look like and what kind of activities could we be involved in. And I remember arriving there, and the majority of people that I met with there, were very well educated. They were professionals in their respective departments. Some of them were marketing, some of them were finance, etc. And I felt that I was, what could I contribute? I come from a small rural-based credit union. Maybe I'm like I couldn't see how I could really add value. And I quickly learned that we all across Canada, we all share similar opportunities and challenges, and that I had the luxury because in my management role, I was responsible for all departments, so I had a good mix of knowledge on all of them. But where I'm going with this is, as my career started to unfold and I gained more experience in management and leading our credit union through a few, different exercises, mergers, etc. It stood out to me that outside of having my degree, that I probably needed to invest into a higher education. And when seeking a master's program, there were lots, of course, and the co-op master's in co-op management seemed perfectly fitting for my
Mm-hmm.
my role, and that's where I invested my time. And that certainly aided me in maintaining my current role.
Yeah.
There's been several times I've had to uh, qualify for my current role because of mergers. And it's safe to say that investing in the co-op model and co-op education really gave me give me a lift in that space, but also living it. I was able to demonstrate during those times when I've had to prove my weight, I guess, that I was able to leverage what my learnings and showcase to the respective bodies that I was able to pull our credit unions through some unique initiatives like opening a daycare, co-op daycare,
Yeah.
and these types of activities, so that they could see that I had a breadth of knowledge and experience when it come to um, living the cooperative principles.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that it was a game changer, honestly. And if someone was considering an executive level management role, and you're considering, doing your master's, uh, when you do the co-op, when you invest heavily in understanding the co-op model, the program takes you through the different disciplines to say, how would you look at this differently? If you look at just the numbers, the financials and everything else, you go in with a curved lens, right? But if you look at it through what would be lost in a community if you decided to close a branch? Yes, you
Mm-hmm.
might gain back a few dollars, but is that your mandate? How much profit is enough? How much retained earnings is enough? When should
Mm-hmm.
you know, when it comes to compensation and looking after your staff, where do you want to fit that profile? What's the right thing? They're just as equivalent stakeholder as your members. So it don't matter what particular area of focus of your business. If you look at it through a cooperative lens of fairness, equality, trust, equity, you could certainly make your decisions a little differently. So I thought
Yeah.
to me, is a game changer.
Yeah, that's very true. And I learned that I had the opportunity to travel and meet you last year in person through the Horizon program, and you could see that through your organization, how you led, and that's how everybody else was within the organization. It just filtered down through, and it was very evident when I was there. It was a breath of fresh air at the same time, sometimes,
Well,
right?
is
So,
you talked about your program that you came to us on, and like, to me again, I probably would participate in those types of programs regardless. But having a deeper understanding of the co-op mindset and cooperation amongst cooperatives, we helping one another,
mhm,
it's really on top of my mind, and I pay more attention to it. So any opportunity that I can see to demonstrate that principle, I certainly jump at it. And
mhm,
we've done that program now twice. We've done the women's mentorship program. I've been to different places in the world, helping out credit unions, the Caribbean, Africa, example. So, it just becomes more top of mind. And then
mhm.
you also start developing key performance indicators to keep you to keep you honest, right? To keep you
Yeah,
make sure that whether you're looking at cutting a program in your credit union because the cost is expensive, a social program, and then you say, you just look at it through a different lens and say, well,
yeah,
this fits our mandate. So,
yes. So I want to shift a little bit and talk about the future of the cooperative model. We just had one question sent to us for it. What are new ways or new opportunities young leaders can reimagine the cooperative advantage for the next generation of members?
yeah, so we're entering a very interesting time, right? Because one time our membership was connected with us because they were very intimately involved with our organization because they frequently visited our branch network, right? And I think a challenge that the young professionals are going to have to really try and solve, because I think, first of all, they're most suited because they're more in tune than people like myself that getting a bit long in tooth, been around the system a little longer, is around, technology and
Hmm.
adoption of technology. So, you know, it was easy to demonstrate to your membership when they were frequently visiting the branch on, ways, and we were providing them wise financial advice, and we were sitting down and having those long conversations with them across the desk. But how do you replicate that? How do you show that, we're here for your best interest, we're giving you the right advice, you can trust us, have confidence in us, and we're going to look after your best interest when, you're getting a loan digitally,
Hmm.
right? You're
Yeah.
opening your account digitally. Your experience with us is on how good our app is. Um,
Hmm.
you know, we do have a social media presence, but how do we articulate through social media the good work that we're doing in our cooperative difference?
Yeah.
So, I think that young leaders is going to have to figure out ways and how we leverage technology when we're connecting with our members. We're going to have to find like new financial solutions that show transparency for us, and like how is it that by embracing our technology we're staying true to our principles.
Yeah. Very true.
I don't really, I wish I knew the answer.
Hmm.
That's something that we're struggling with now, but we still have too large of a percentage of our members that hasn't jumped on the digital train.
Yeah,
And
that's
of
true.
course, it's a costly service model for us. Um, but those credit unions that are moving into a digital age faster, how is that's something that the young professionals, young leaders need to really kind of resolve.
Yeah. Before we move into like our closing questions or quick fire questions, is there anything that we might have missed during our conversation that you wanted to highlight before we move to the next part?
No, no, I think you got excellent questions. Whoever fired those out, they to
Yeah.
keep you in check.
Yeah. Okay, so here's one of the quick fire questions. What's one word that describes what the credit union or cooperative model means to you?
Wow. Um, got to be community.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
very true.
yeah. With it, like when you peel it all back, um, and just say, what's our purpose?
Hmm.
What mandate should we fulfill? And really, it's about creating a community and where we live, work, and play. And what's our role in that? Like, how do we enhance that as a credit union? And it's interesting, Steve, because you might have heard me say this before when you visited us, but I always say to the branches in the communities which we operate, the management mainly, I
Hmm.
say, if this credit union had to close outside of financial services, what will be missed?
Hmm.
And if the manager or the staff of that branch can't say, well, that would be it. People wouldn't have a place to go do their banking. Then we missed a boat, right?
Yeah.
They should be able to say, "Oh my gosh, like in our Jeffries branch, we missed the fact that our credit union um, runs our winter carnival."
Yeah.
Or the Deer Lake branch that says, "We missed the fact that our credit union facilitates a warm coats for kids program,
Hmm.
and that gives back to our kids that can't afford to have a winter coat," right? Or in Port aux Basques, where the manager, the membership would say, gosh, I missed those financial literacy programs or the school savings program because my kid that started in kindergarten that went to grade 6 depositing money in their credit union account and saving for their goals, that's gone, right? So it's those community outreach, the social component that is just as important as coming in to get $20 out of your account, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I say community.
Yeah, here's one that they gave us as a quick fire question. I don't think it's going to be, if you could change one misconception people have about credit unions, what would it be?
Yeah. Well, there's so many misconceptions, right? And we're somewhat to blame because we're so humble. We don't tell our story really well, right? But pick a misconception. You could say that we're a high credit lending institution because credit's in our name, right? People associate us with a high interest rate company, or that we're reserved just for a certain segment of the population because historically, we were closed bond, right? So we're only applicable there. Or the big misconception is, I think the biggest misconception is that we don't have the breadth of products and services, right? And then the other one I think is that we're small, right? We're small and intimate, that don't have the scale yet. Globally, we have the most branches, serve the most people in the world. It's just that we have a different structure that allows us to be independent and autonomous. So, pick one of those. But we got our work to do. But I think we're making some strides as credit unions spend more time in marketing and advertising and showing our unique proposition, right?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, last for the quick fire. Who inspires you within the cooperative movement?
I'm inspired by, I won't say one person. I'm inspired by anyone who demonstrates that they're making a difference and who are putting members first and who never lose sight of our values. So, I'm not inspired by the credit union CEO that is, closing branches and shaving a few basis points without any regard for membership. I'm more intrigued by credit unions that come up with innovative solutions, or leaders that come up with innovative solutions to serve a community different, like innovation, sending a bus out to a community they could have closed it down and not served them at all, but they're sending a bus out now to do services. Or the credit union in Yarmouth that bought a dilapidated building and turned it into housing for doctors to attract doctors to their community because they were short. So, I won't say one individual, but credit unions and credit union leaders and the National Young Leader Committee. The fact that 20 plus years strong, this committee is still going. They're doing these types of sessions. They're networking. I see you had your strategic planning session the other day. You're thinking about innovative ways in which the credit unions can be sustainable in the future. That's what makes me excited and keeps me going.
Okay, and one last thing we like to do is leave people with an action. So what's one action every young leader can take today to strengthen the cooperative advantage?
As I said earlier, education. So put it in. What is it? It's November. This is great time. Get in your professional development plan. Do this. And send me an email at cmunden@aecu.ca, whoever listens to this, and say that in your professional development plan, you went to your respective manager and you've put in there a professional development component that says you're going to learn more about the co-op model, the principles and the values. St. Mary's has a bunch of programs. I know I'm touting them because I'm familiar with them. I'm sure, there's other programs out there, but I'm intimately involved with St. Mary's. But put it in your professional development program that you're going to do, a day session, a webinar, you're going to do some 3-day. There's so many different programs out there. And once you learn and get more deeper down in understanding that co-op advantage, everything else will follow. Your actions, your tactics, how you incorporate that into your credit union, your initiatives, you're going to feel inspired. You're going to feel motivated to kind of make change. And if so, first start off with getting it in your plan. So, and I'm being serious.
Cory.
Anybody wants to pick my brain on opportunities for development in that space, by all means, drop me an email and I'll try my best to point you in the right direction. But I'd be delighted to hear some of the people that would be listening to this podcast insert that in their development plan.
Yeah, that's great advice, Cory. I just wanted to take the time now to thank you, Cory, on behalf of myself and the NYLC. I know you have a busy schedule, and to give us a half an hour of your time for this type of thing is very appreciated. And that's all we have for today. So thanks everybody for listening, and look out for the next one after this.